Assalamu alaikum, ladies and gentlemen. Today we have with us Anza Abbasi, who was able to pass the CSS exam in year 2020 through her hard work and determination. Let's learn from her experience how she was able to do it. Assalamu alaikum, Anza, how are you?
Walaikum assalam, madam. I'm good. How are you?
I'm good too, thank you. So Anza, please briefly introduce yourself for our viewers.
As you know, I'm Anza Abbasi, and recently I've qualified CSS and I've been allocated to Pakistan Administrative Service. I'm originally from district Larkana in Sindh, and my family moved to Islamabad when I was in 2008. And over here, I did my O-levels and A-levels from City School Capital Campus Islamabad. Later on, I joined NUST and I did my bachelor's in public administration. Afterwards, the goal of my life was qualifying CSS exam, and here we are today.
MashaAllah. So, Anza, was it your first attempt?
No, actually, it was my second attempt.
Right. So, what went wrong in the first attempt?
In first attempt, I guess I couldn't qualify English, and I had 39 in Pressy. So, hard luck.
But still, you were, mashallah, able to score really well this time.
Yes.
So what would you suggest to our viewers who unfortunately first time nahi score kar pate and then they give up on, their dream? Lekin aapne give up nahi kiya. So what is your, some words of wisdom for them?
I think आपको 2 attempts की तैयारी करनी चाहिए. Like I knew I'll give 2 attempts because I didn't know. For instance, if you don't qualify your first attempt, you have another attempt. You can prepare quickly for second attempt. आपकी base बनी हुई होती है, आप जल्दी से दे सकते हो. Secondly, even if you qualify it, you should give another attempt. For instance, if you're not allocated, for people from Punjab are not allocated, or even if you are allocated and you're not allocated in group of your preference, so you'll have another attempt to back you up. So I think कि हर किसी को 2 attempts back to back तो देने ही चाहिए.
So Anza, CSS के लिए हम सुनते हैं कि एक बहुत long journey होता है, and your qualification, your background, even your schooling counts in the whole process. Mashallah, say you've done O and A levels, and then you have your degree from NUST, which is one of the best institutes in Pakistan. Did all of that help in the CSS process for you?
Yes, ma'am. Very fortunately, it helped. And for instance, there was one optional that I had European history, and I had studied that in A levels. And for me, it was nothing new, and I was able. हालांकि उसका इतना बड़ा syllabus है, I was able to quickly prepare for it because it was something that I had interest in and something I had a background in. And secondly, my degree at NUST was very helpful. You can say कि sort of I prepared for 4 years for CSS because everything that I studied in my degree was somehow relevant in CSS. ये ज़रूर है कि for CSS you have to work hard, you have to study more in detail, you have to study more in depth than you have to do for your university degree, but base bani hui thi. Like I didn't need to learn what are branches of government, for instance, for the first time because my degree was in government. It was very government related, so these were things that I had already learned, but obviously I had to study them in detail, that what are different branches of branches of government for different countries, etc.
Right. So, Anza, mashallah, say you've scored the highest in governance and public policy, and this is one of the most conceptual subjects in CSS. तो आपने क्या strategy design की जिसकी basis पे आपने इतना अच्छा score किया?
Ma'am, I think a lot of people, when they are studying this subject, they are mistaken. They take it as one subject. It is made up of 2 different subjects. One is governance and another is public policy. Now, governance subject, it's basically very generic and it is developed by mostly UN or World Bank type organizations. But public policy is a very academic subject, and it's developed by people who have academic backgrounds in economics and even in communication. So first and foremost, candidates need to realize that when they are preparing for governance part or when they are writing answers for governance part, they can be as generic as they can. As they find it comfortable. But when they are writing answers for public policy part or preparing for public policy part, they need to be specific. Secondly, they need to know economics. Without economics, you cannot understand public policy. And uske liye one very good resource is Virtual University ke public policy ke lectures on YouTube. They cover all the economic concepts. And the third thing that you need to know about public policy is that they repeat certain type of questions every year. One of them is on policy analysis. तो आप policy analysis के लिए आपकी जो भी field है, because public policy is everywhere. If somebody is an engineer, civil engineer, they can take urbanization and they can study that in detail and they can make a policy analysis का पहले से ही prepare करके ले जाएं वो. आंसर, और वहाँ पे जब पॉलिसी एनालिसिस का क्वेश्चन है तो दे कैन राइट इट ऑलरेडी. आई डिड क्वेश्चन ऑन पॉलिसी एनालिसिस एंड आई रोट अबाउट स्टंटिंग एंड आई हैड डन an assignment on stunting in my 6th semester, so I had just reproduced my assignment over there. तो sort of ये भी थी कि मतलब background था, luck भी थी उस हिसाब से. And another thing that is very important in public policy is whenever you mention any concept, back it by a real life example. For instance, there was a question in my paper which was about how much role does bureaucracy play in policy making or policy implementation or different stages of policy, something like that. तो उसमें I wrote about जो कासिम सुलेमानी के ऊपर अटैक हुआ था, तो I wrote about कि it was a bureaucracy थी जिन्होंने ट्रम्प साहब को सारे ये different options दिए थे उन्होंने, because President Trump didn't know who was Soleimani before the military establishment briefed him. So वो सारी मैंने उस case study पे वो build किया था answer. तो whenever you are writing an answer, because current affairs तो पढ़ते रहते हैं, तो you always link जो policies या government decisions आप पढ़ रहे हैं with your answers, because that makes your answers strong.
Speaking of your example which you mentioned just now, इसी के साथ मैं एक क्वेश्चन अपना रिलेट करूँगी कि अक्सर कहा जाता है कि यू हैव टू हैव अ वेरी न्यूट्रल स्टांस इन योर रिटन एग्जामिनेशन और अपनी पर्सनल ओपिनियन या कोई बायस नहीं शो करना होता. To what extent do you feel is it true? Did you mention any of your personal preferences in any of the subjects in the written exam?
Ma'am, you have to be moderate person. You don't have to be a radical. You don't have to be an extremist when you're writing any essay, any answer in any CSS paper. But mentioning an example कि भाई इस तरह से होता है, if there is a process and it is, for instance, how bureaucracy makes decisions, how government makes decisions, these are processes and a lot of times they are public. Or इसमें one safe way to play is to use example of another country, because maybe someone might be biased about Pakistan, but they don't really. One reason I picked European history, because history is one of my favorite things in the world and I love history. The one over Indo-Pak I picked European history because European history के बारे में कोई examiner जो है वो bias नहीं होगा, उनको मेरे opinion से मसला नहीं होगा. So for instance, if I can criticize Tsar Nicholas as much as I want, I can criticize certain individual as much as I want, so they wouldn't really feel very emotional about it. But अगर मैं वही किसी पाकिस्तान अफेयर की फिगर के बारे में लिखती हूँ तो they might be emotional about it और उसकी वजह से मेरी मार्क्स पे इम्पैक्ट आ सकता है. तो या one good way of doing it is कि अगर आप लिख भी रहे हो ना किसी ऐसे मुल्क का लिखो जिसके बारे में people don't really care.
Right. So, Anza, constitutional law is among those subjects that were targeted this year. और आपके माशाल्लाह 55 score है उसमें. What strategy did you follow for that subject?
Again, for constitutional law, I divided syllabus in two parts. First was the countries part, and second was the conceptual part. Conceptual part में a lot of people don't pay attention to it. So you have to do all the concepts जो भी syllabus में given है. And उसके लिए I did a lot of online readings, JSTOR पे जाके और different Google Scholar पे जाके. And for the countries part, I bought a book market से जिसका नाम World Constitution था. But at the same time, I did constitutions of every single country जो Pol Sci के syllabus में थे and जो constitutional law के syllabus में थे. And one thing that I will tell candidates is to be aware in constitutional law, because they ask out of syllabus questions in your written and also in your interview. In my interview, I was asked about amendment process in Switzerland. Now, this is not in syllabus, but they asked me, they expected me to know the answer. So if you're opting for the syllabus, तो आपको depth में study करनी है. Sorry, if you're opting for this subject, तो आपको depth में study करनी है इसके लिए.
Right. So, Anza, what about the role of reading in the entire process of CSS? How important is it? Because we get to know from different past candidates कि reading plays a major role in your preparation. आपने कितनी reading की और क्या was it a part of your lifestyle कि आप पहले से पढ़ती रहती थी या during your CSS preparation you started reading?
Ma'am, I was an avid reader and I love reading and I read mostly non-fiction books. But as far as CSS is concerned, तो आप अपना syllabus पूरा कर लें. बाकी books को आप छोड़ें. चाहे वो फॉल ऑफ नेशंस हो, चाहे वो 21 लेसन्स की बुक्स हो, आपको इन बुक्स से ज़्यादा अपना सिलेबस पूरा करके आपने पहले तो कंटेंट जमा करना है ना, एंड सेकेंडली इट रियली डिपेंड्स हाउ मच टाइम यू हैव. इफ़ यू आर प्रिपेयरिंग फॉर वन होल ईयर तो आप बुक्स पढ़ सकते हैं, बट अगर आपके पास 6 months हैं या कुछ लोग 3 months में प्रिपेयर करते हैं, तो उसमें अगर आप कोई हेनरी किसिंजर की बुक उठाएंगे तो आपको 1 महीना तो वो बुक ख़त्म करते करते लगेगी. तो जस्ट रीड बुक्स दैट आर रेलिवेंट. या फ्यू बुक्स जो हेल्प करेंगी, जैसे मलिया लोधी की है, या फिर उसके अलावा एक पाकिस्तान हार्ड कंट्री है जो आपको बैकग्राउंड देगी, बट पहले सिलेबस पूरा होना चाहिए. फर्स्ट प्रायोरिटी शुड बी कंप्लीटिंग द सिलेबस.
So जो CSS essay होता है, English essay का paper, the first one, that's where a lot of candidates get shattered. और first day के बाद वो अक्सर जाते ही नहीं हैं for the next exam because they feel कि they didn't do well. और इसी में सबसे ज़्यादा failure का percentage है. तो why do you think कि students are unable to score well in essay? और आपने क्या किस तरीके से अपना essay का paper attempt किया? What was your strategy?
I personally think the biggest reason people fail is either they are either they are overconfident about it or they don't practice. ठीक है, अब ये भी नहीं सोचना कि सबसे ज़्यादा अंग्रेज़ी मुझे आती है तो मैंने प्रैक्टिस ही नहीं करनी, और ये भी नहीं सोचना कि भाई एंड पे हो जाएगा. ऐसे कि यू हैव टू डू प्रैक्टिस whether you have like highest grades in English throughout your life, और अगर आप बिल्कुल अंग्रेज़ी नहीं आती, you have to practice. और last month तो पूरा essay को ही और pressy को ही देना है. Like I remember for my 2020 attempt, last 10 days were dedicated to pressy and essay. और उसमें what I did was कि I first and foremost made a list of all topics of essay, और उनको मैंने topically divide किया. 2000 से past paper निकाले, और उसमें सबसे पहले वुमेन पे एसेस थे, उनको 7 कर दिया, एनवायरनमेंट पे 7 कर दिया, एजुकेशन पे 7 कर दिया. देन आई रिसर्च एवरी टॉपिक कि वुमेन पे रिसर्च कर ली. फिर उनके मैंने इंट्रोडक्शन लिखे, और इंट्रोडक्शन के जो पहले 3 सेंटेंसेस होते हैं, जो जर्नल सा हुक होता है, जो आप अक्सर यू कैन यूज़ इट ओवर सेम टॉपिक पे, आप वो हर जगह पे लगा सकते हो. कोट होती है या स्टोरी होती है. तो फर्स्ट आई प्रिपेयर्ड दोज थिंग्स, और उसके बाद आई प्रिपेयर्ड आउटलाइंस फॉर एवरी एसे, एंड देन आई रोट कंप्लीट एसे. सो या देयर वाज अ लॉट ऑफ एफर्ट दैट वेंट इनटू एसे, बिकॉज आप सारे सब्जेक्ट्स पास कर लोगे, आप एसे पास नहीं करोगे. तो दिस इज समथिंग जिस पे बहुत मेहनत की ज़रूरत है.
राइट. तो आपको कोई मेंटोरशिप थी आपकी हेल्प के लिए, कोई गाइडेंस आपने कहीं से ली? एंड व्हाट अबाउट एकेडमीज़? कहा जाता है कि एकेडमी ज़रूर ज्वाइन करनी चाहिए फॉर प्रिपरेशन. टू व्हाट एक्सटेंट आर एकेडमीज़ हेल्पफुल?
पहले तो अपनी मेंटोरशिप की बात करूँगी तो सबसे पहले तो माई बिगेस्ट मेंटोर इज़ माई फादर, एंड ऑल्सो माई पेरेंट्स. माई मदर हैज़ बिन अ मेंटोर, और इसके अलावा इन सब की दुआएं थी, पेरेंट्स की, ग्रैंड पेरेंट्स की. बंदा पास हुआ है. उसके बाद लाइक CSS से रिलेटेड तो माई मेंटोर वो सर jasra, और उनके पास मैंने इंग्लिश के लिए आई थी. और इसके अलावा अकेडमीज़ का जहाँ तक ताल्लुक़ है, तो आई थिंक कि आपके ऊपर डिपेंड करता है कि इफ़ यू थिंक यू नीड एन अकेडमी फॉर अ सब्जेक्ट, गो फॉर इट. बट इफ़ यू थिंक कि आपका टाइम वेस्ट होगा किसी अकेडमी में जाके, तो डोंट गो फॉर इट. आई फेल्ट कि आई डोंट नीड अकेडमी फॉर एनी सब्जेक्ट अदर देन इंग्लिश, तो आई डिड दैट. आई केम टू CSPS एंड दैट वाज द ओनली अकेडमी आई वेंट टू. तो इट डिपेंड्स ऑन द इंडिविजुअल. आई कैन नॉट रिकमेंड कि कोई 18,000 बच्चे अगर अपीयर हो रहे हैं, तो आई कैन नॉट जर्नलाइज माई एक्सपीरियंस टू एवरीवन. If they feel like they need an academy, they should go to an academy. If they feel like they need to go to 2-3 academies, they should go to 2-3 academies. But if somebody feels कि उनको academy की ज़रूरत नहीं है, तो they shouldn't go there. Again, self-awareness is very important.
What about the interview part? उसके लिए कितनी प्रिपरेशन चाहिए होती है? और कहा जाता है कि आपको अपने ऑप्शनल सब्जेक्ट्स और कंपल्सरी सब्जेक्ट्स सब फिर से रिवाइज करने पड़ते हैं, which is a big task. तो क्या is it true? Did you revise all your optional subjects plus the compulsories? How was your interview preparation?
Ma'am, interview preparation was actually इसमें ये था कि we do have to revise all our compulsories and optionals, but at the same time for interview you need more knowledge, and you need knowledge in depth. As I mentioned earlier, in my interview I was asked about amendment process in Switzerland from constitutional law. This is out of syllabus, but if you have knowledge in depth, you can answer questions like that. So for interview, I'd say you need more knowledge, and it's not just about how you speak, it's also about what you speak, and it's also about luck कि किसी दिन like for on my interview day overall marks कम दिए गए थे, तो sort of depend करता है कि आपकी उस दिन पे किस्मत क्या थी, या उस दिन पे पैनल देख क्या रहा था स्टूडेंट्स में, तो that also matters. So yeah, it's your luck, but also I think for interview you need knowledge in depth, and also you need to be very eloquent, और आपने बहुत elaborate करके explain करनी होती हैं चीज़ें.
Right. And how did you manage your nervousness on that particular day? क्योंकि एक panel बैठा होता है and all of them are focused on you. So how did you manage that?
I'd say that I was a little lucky in this area because मैं बचपन से बहुत ज़्यादा confident हूँ, and I have been, but at the same time I did a lot of mock interviews. So हाँ, nervousness को थोड़ा बहुत mocks they help you out because usually the panel in mocks is similar to the panel there. तो आपको help हो जाती है.
So Anza, please give a few words of advice to our viewers that are watching this interview to learn from your experience.
What I'd advise to the viewers is कि आपने अगर CSS करना है तो आपको मेहनत करनी है. Like I'm allocated in my first, what was my first preference, and अगर आपको अपनी first preference चाहिए तो you have to work hard. There are no shortcuts and there is no easy way out. CSS is a process of delayed gratification. आप इस वक्त बैठ के अखबार पढ़ रहे होंगे और आप देख रहे होंगे अपने आसपास people are going abroad for masters, somebody is doing very good job, और आपका भी दिल कर रहा होगा कि भाई मैं भी बाहर जाऊँ, मैं भी अच्छी नौकरी करूँ. But you have to remember one thing, that अभी आप जो पढ़ाई कर रहे हैं that would be fruitful in future. और आप CSS में आपको उस वक्त fruit नहीं मिल रहा होता. As soon as result आता है, your life changes and there is अभी result को एक ही महीना हुआ है and like still celebrations are going on. So I just say this is a process of delayed gratification. Keep that in your mind and keep on studying.
Right. Thank you so much, Ansab, for your valuable words, and it was a great conversation with you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm sure you learned a lot from Anza's experience. Please let us know in the comments below how you liked it.